Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with the first of my top 10 of 2020 videos for 2020. This is going to be my top 10 most carried for the year. I do keep track of these. You guys seem to like my monthly update videos that I do on the same subject. I usually do 5, the 5 that I carried the most that month. This is for the whole year, so we're doing 10. There are 2 honorable mentions, both for the same reason, so I'll explain that when we get to that point. I do want to say right off the jump, sometimes I get comments down below if I do these multi-knife videos and I don't have anything budget in there. There's not anything really budget in this one. There's a lot of really mainstream stuff. It's not all weird stuff. I don't do customs anyway, so everything I do is somewhat obtainable at least. But yeah, there's nothing really super cheap on this. I'm spoiled. I'm a spoiled brat. I get to handle a lot of really expensive, cool stuff, and I do carry budget knives for review and whatnot, but honestly, in my day-to-day, I just don't that much. I'm a spoiled brat. I'm going to try and do better about that for 2021. That's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to just say right now, I'm going to try and carry cheaper knives in 2021. So that's my New Year's resolution. I've said it out loud to 20,000 of you. I have to do it now. So probably going to be 10,000. You're going to watch this, but that's enough. So I have said enough that I have to do it. So I will make a concerted effort next year that I carry more budget stuff day to day, but this year I did not. Also, it's 2020. It's you know the global bastard apocalypse. I had to keep myself happy, so I did carry some more expensive, and I bought more expensive knives this year than I probably should have. So I had a few. So let's get going. Let's start out with the honorable mentions. There will be links down below, by the way, to all these knives. If I have a review of it, I'll link to that review. There's one for certain I know that I don't. Pretty sure I do for all the other ones, or at least have a video that it's in, and I will link to that down below. There will also be a link to my last year's list. I didn't look at that. I know there are some repeats, but I'm not exactly sure which ones they are, but I'm sure there are some repeats here from last year if you want to go reference that. Let's get going. First up would be, this knife would be on here if I only had one of them, but I have 2, and the time got split between the 2, so it didn't quite make it. It would have barely squeaked on. It wouldn't have made it by much, but that is the XM24. This is the one I carry the most now by far, but I've just recently got it. This is the sheep's foot Hinderer XM24 with the battle bronze from USA Made Blade. It's $595. They are not inexpensive. This is a vintage with 01 tool steel and a spear point. I actually got this for less than that, used from a lovely viewer who gave me a screaming good deal on it. But since I got this, I don't carry this one that much because it is a limited, like, numbered knife and stuff, and it didn't stop me from carrying it when I first got it. But when the opportunity came up to get a user XM24 for a good deal, I wanted to, because I like carrying a knife this size. Not every day, not all the time, but enough that it would have made the list. I like the XM24. I think it's still a pretty carryable knife. It is a bit heavy. It's a bit bulky, but you know, some people say that you can't really carry it, even other Hinderer fans. Yeah, I'm just going to say it because I'm going to give him a compliment later, so it'll make up to it. Yeah, Metal Complex in his XM24 videos will say, hey, you can't really carry it EDC. I think you can. Depends on your jeans, you know, stuff like that. There's some pants I can't carry it with, but most I can. It's never really been that big of an issue. And I just love the size of the XM24. I don't like the price. $595. I just don't get why it's that much more expensive than an XM18. XM18s are $425. Why is this so much bigger? It's the same materials. It's the same construction. I know there's more materials, but not that much more. I've never understood why the 24s are so much more expensive. If I ever get Rick on the chats from the truck, that will be my first question to him is, when are you making more full tracks, and why is this so expensive? Next up in the honorable mention category, we have another knife that I owned 2 of. I don't have the other one anymore, but if I combine their numbers together, this one would probably be like halfway up the list. I carry this thing a lot, and I've never done a full video on it, partly because I've owned 2, which I'll explain now. That would be the Guardian Tactical Recon 035. This is a carbon fiber inlay version. I bought a used one, and it was I had it actually in my hand before I paid for it. I paid a very fair price for it for the condition that it was in, but it was pretty well used. It wasn't like beat up. It was just pretty well used, but I loved it. So I bought it, but it wasn't really photogenic. So it had a coated blade that was pretty scuffed up and, some other scuffs here and there, and it just didn't look good on camera. So I bought it with the intent to do some comparison videos and stuff, and I just never did. So I sold it with the intent to buy this one, and I finally found the carbon one that I really, really wanted. And now this one is mine, the carbon stonewash. Why do I like this so much? Well, I like the looks of it. And $325 for the carbon one. It's more like $270 for one that's just pure aluminum. Not too bad. I like the carbon, not even necessarily just for the looks, but just it won't scratch up as much. But the main reason why I like it is this. You can do that without much effort whatsoever. It's got a little ball that's running on a stainless steel track, which just makes it so smooth. And you just don't have to put as much force into it as you do a lot of Microtecs. Still love me my Microtecs. None of my Microtecs are on the list, which I'm kind of surprised. The LUDT was 11, though. I will say that. I want to say my Microtech LUDT purple one was 11. And I haven't had it for that long. So I think it'll probably make it next year. But right now, this year, there's no Microtecs on it. I'm just being honest. If I wanted to make y'all happy, I'd have stuck some budget knives in here and just made it up, but I'm not. I'm trying to keep it accurate. So, yeah, I just love the Recon 035. I kind of want an 040, the big one. I'm not too interested in the small one, the 025, is that what it is, I think? But, yeah, I think 270 to 325. They're a little hard to get, but they're not insanely hard to get. Easy to get a Recon 035. It's just hard to get the one you want. So, but I got the one I want, and I love it. And been carrying it a lot. Now let's get into the list as proper. Number 10. This has not been carried much lately, but the first half of the year it was carried a lot, and I believe this is the first knife on the list. It's definitely the first knife on the list that I'm pretty sure I owned in 2019, and it's being carried into this year, but mostly the first part of the year. This is the Benchmade Super Freak. That was a 565 BK-1 M4 steel. I did put a deep carry clip on it. I don't think it came with this. I think I put that on there. I just love the look of the G10. The coated blade, I wish it wasn't, but whatever. I always get comments on the coating because my coating's not scuffed up. You say you carry that a lot, but your coating's not scuffed up. Well, it's pretty good coating on Benchmades. It holds up pretty darn good. And B, I don't work at a construction site. No, it's not scratched up. I'm sorry about that. But I do carry it and use it, but I'm not a heavy-duty user. I'm just not. So I could intentionally scratch it, but that would be stupid. So I'm not going to do that. Now, $191 for this. I don't think that's a bad price at all. Again, I wish they'd have done, I've said before, when they did the Mini Freak, the Mini Super Freak, they made it more expensive because it's S90V and carbon fiber. I just wanted a smaller one of this. And if they made a smaller one of this, I probably still wouldn't have this. And honestly, now that I have the Mini Freak, I do carry it more, but I just recently got that, so it didn't make the list. But do like the Super Freak a whole lot. The ergos are awesome. If you have big hands and stuff, it's just a really super comfortable knife, and it's so well broken in now. After I think I've had this thing a year and a half. I didn't go back to look at when I did the video when I got it, but I've had it for quite some time, and great knife. Next up would be the Protec Malibu, which I'm surprised it wasn't farther up the list. I think it's just because I haven't had it that long. They haven't been out that long. But I do carry this a whole lot, so I just kind of thought it would be higher up the list. And no Protec autos on the list. There are no autos other than that Recon that was an honorable mention. And I have been kind of into autos this year, but it's been so spread out amongst many knives that just none of them made it. But the Malibu is great. Button lock, not an auto. It's a button lock manual. Action is outstanding. This is the Warncliffe version. There is a reverse Tanto. They did one big batch. I think they did another small one. I know there's another big one coming. It is a bit hard to get, but not horribly expensive. $199. It's like, again, this is what I still consider to be like a mainstream kind of knife. And I just really like it. It's so easy to carry, nice deep carry clip, and that action is just so good. I just really enjoy it. The Malibu is just an awesome knife. You will be seeing this on another top 10 of the year list. I assure you. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to split the prices yet, but it'll be on one of them. It's undeniably. It just has to be. Next up would be a knife that I owned previously and I reacquired this year. And since I reacquired it, it's been in my pocket so much that it made the list higher than I thought it would be. I thought it might squeak in, but it's number 8, the Benchmade Anthem. Again, if I was trying to make you guys happy, I wouldn't have put this on here because it's discontinued and you can't get one, which really sucks. It's a cool knife, but I totally get why Benchmade discontinued it. It's kind of a halo knife. Honestly, surprised it lasted as long as it did because it's a Benchmade that, when they were new, cost about $400. I know that when they were blowing them out, the few that still had a few at the time when they discontinued it, I think you could find one for like $360 something. But pretty expensive knife. It is full titanium. Again, I owned one and I sold it and I missed it. 20 CV steel. It is technically an axis lock, but it's totally different. No Omega springs. It's got this coil spring in here because it is an integral. So there's no way to get those Omega springs in and out. This one is extremely well broken in, and it is just smooth as smooth can be. The only flaw I have with this one compared to my old one is, well, the flaw I had with all of them initially is you have to replace that pocket clip. I mean, in my opinion, it's hideous. It's just, it looks like an organ and not one that you'd play at church. And so I always put an aftermarket clip on it. MXG Gear makes one that fits it. It is a different hole pattern, which is slightly annoying as well. My last one, it matched perfectly. And this one, it mostly matches. It's close enough, but it's not quite that perfect match that my old one was. But now, especially since they discontinued, I'm never selling this thing. It's just, I love the Anthem, and they don't make them anymore. So, of course, I'm going to keep it. I think there'll probably be another integral Benchmade next year. I'm guessing they're going to come out with some kind of, quasi replacement for the Anthem. I really think they will. This thing they kept it for a few years. It did well enough. I think they'll probably replace it. And next up, this is where I'm going to give Metal Complex a compliment after I just insulted him because he won't carry an XM24. This is a knife that he kind of forced me to get because he just kept talking about it all the time on his channel about how it's of all his cool Hinderers and all his other cool stuff that he has, this is what he carries the most. And I said, all right, fine, I'm going to try it. It's a knife knife design I don't like, but a steel I never had, and that would be the Pair 3 Maximet. $217 for this version. You can get a Pair 3 for a lot less expensive than that. I think they were down like $125, something like that. Maximet's obviously a lot more. It is a genuine super steel, non-stainless. I never had Maximet before, and I do like the gray on the G10. I still think the Pair 3 is ugly, and no one is ever going to convince me otherwise. I do not think it's a good-looking knife, and I'm very annoyed by the fact that you pretty much have to put an aftermarket deep carry clip on it. This is a Casey Lynch. MXG Gear makes them as well. But it is very comfortable in the hand. I do admit that. And the Maximet is freaking awesome. The edge retention on this stuff is just stupid. And luckily, I live in an environment in upstate New York where it's wet, but it's not humid, if that makes any sense. Like, we get rain and snow, but it's never like, hanging in the air. So I'm usually pretty okay with non-stainless steels. This is heavily doused in EDCI, the Aegis EDCI protected stuff, which is slowly coming back in stock places. So that helps it. But still, even like my D2 blades and stuff that I haven't put EDCI on or anything, I just don't get that much rust or corrosion. So this is pretty clean. I think I'm like one little speck on it. And for the amount that I use it, that's completely fine. And I initially got it just thinking it was going to be a size comparison knife, and I just have, this is going to be a size comparison knife. Everybody's going to see it. I might as well get the cool one. And MC keeps raving about it, but nah, he's right. I carry it all the damn time. As long as I don't look at it, I love it. It's just when I look at it, and I'm like, why did I get that? Next up would be one that I think would be up higher on the list if I'd have had it longer. And this is another one that you guys all convinced me to get. I kept hearing it. And that would be the Spartan Harsey folder. This is the full-size one, the 4-inch blade. There is a 3.25 now. I have one of those as well, and that would probably be on the list if I'd had it for longer. But, I just got it very recently and gave one away to one of you guys recently. But, wow, what a great knife. Very tough knife. It is kind of, I hate to put other companies' names and stuff when I describe stuff, but a lot of people describe it as a cross between a Hinderer and a Chris Reeve, and it really kind of is, honestly. It really kind of is. And there are no Chris Reeves on this list, which I'm surprised. I have 3 of them, but they were all fairly recent acquisitions and just didn't get enough pocket time to make the list. So that's unfortunate. My Nkosi would definitely be on it for if we did it for next year. But yeah, this is an older S35 VN one. They're S45 now. They're not inexpensive, $460. But so smooth. Let them break in if you get one. That was the best advice I got from Matt Yun, who's a Spartan nut, has a ton of them. He said, don't take it apart, don't adjust it, just let it break in. And man, he was right. You can even front flip it. Let's see if I can do it on camera. I'm probably going to fail miserably because I'm on camera. There we go, 2 tries. I'll take that. I have to use a little bit of wrist. He can do it with no wrist at all, Matt, but has a lot more experience than me with it. But yeah, just a great knife. Just the ergos are good. It's tough as nails. And an awesome company, all made in the USA. The owners are genuine, veteran, certified badasses with the paperwork to prove it. And great guys as well. So love dealing with them. I call Curtis up just to chat sometimes when I don't even have anything to really talk to him about. Just a really cool company. This is a bit of a unique configuration. They have a lot of custom ones with really cool milling and stuff on there, a little more expensive. I almost got one of the Plague Doctor ones, but I didn't. But this is a bit unique. But this is something you can just get from Spartan if you just call up and ask instead of ordering like online. Normally, if you get a stonewash blade, you get stonewash handles. If you get DLC handles, you get a DLC blade. But I mixy matched them. So they had the parts, so they said no problem, and they made me one. And it held up the shipping by like a day. So they don't put stuff together until somebody orders it. So if it's up on the site, that means they have the parts for it. It doesn't mean that it's sitting in a box on a shelf. But a great knife. I just love this thing. Again, if I'd had it longer, it'd probably be higher up the list. But right now it's sitting at number 6. Same story with number 5. This is not going to be a surprise because I rave about this thing all the time. It's the Demco 8020. I mean, obviously, it's such a good knife. It's just so fidgety and so fun. You can open it 90 different ways. It's just a fidget knife that once it's open and locked, it's like really secure, really beefy knife. And it's just awesome. I wouldn't call it a huge knife. I kind of corrected myself. I just did an interview in the Chats from the Truck with Andrew Demco, and we were talking about the 8020, and I said, I started saying a big knife. I'm like, it's not really that big. At least to me, it's not that big. It's large. I wouldn't call it like an XL big old knife. What is the blade on? I'm gonna do this off camera for a second. I don't even remember. I think it's just 3.5. It's a little more than that, like 3.6. It's not that huge. Just the ergos are great in that lock, and it's so well built. This is a 3V MG version, so it's 425. If you want the custom ones, the full-on customs, without the machine ground blade, with the hand ground blade or anything, they're like 800, which is way out of my realm. But I think the MGs are just fine. And I did, in that interview, and Andrew Demco did say he carries an MG himself. So even Andrew Demco himself thinks that the MGs are just fine. So, but yeah, it's what a great knife. And everyone I know who, in the knife review community, and I know lots of them, everyone who's gotten their hands on it has raved about it just as much as me. This is fantastic. It's again, another one that's going to be on a top something list at the end of the year. It's just a fantastic freaking knife. Next up, I can stop saying fantastic knife, right? Because they all are, because I carry them a lot. This would be the Quiet Carry Waypoint. Came in at number 4. It's really hard to find a reason not to carry this. It's kind of one of those knives. It's Vanex steel, titanium with a LC200 inliner lock, all corrosion-proof screws and all that on the hardware. And yeah, it's completely corrosion-proof, and I can attest to that. I soaked it in a salt bath and everything for another video. It's very slender. Has a nice deep carry wire clip. It's very lightweight. It runs on phosphor washers. The action's great. It's very snappy. It's really hard to find a reason not to throw this in my pocket every day. Again, it's one I haven't had the whole year, so it might be a little higher up, but it's still pretty darn high at number 4. But just it looks good. It's very inoffensive, everyone. $295. Not inexpensive at all. They are a little hard to get. Not too bad. They did just do a second run of them, and there's another one coming up. But, just keep an eye on their site, sign up for their list and all that stuff. Follow them on Instagram is probably the best way to know they're coming. But just a nice hollow grind, very slicey. Yeah, it's, for my purposes, which aren't that heavy-duty use, pretty hard to find a reason not to grab the Waypoint almost every single day. Awesome knife. Next up, you knew there was going to be another Hinderer higher up the list than just an honorable mention, but you might be surprised by which one it is. This is the XM18 Skinny no choil slicer. It's a DLT exclusive. They don't have them out right now, but DLT seems to restock their exclusives occasionally anyway. This has gone through many looks throughout the year. So is the next knife that's coming up, actually, glancing at my list. But this has currently a Sharp Dress Knives micarta scale on it. It's not a genuine Hinderer scale. I know sometimes people get upset about that, but Sharp Dress Knives makes amazing scales. I love it. It is an XM18. It's just, as the name would indicate, skinnier. And it does make it a little bit more easy to carry. It's not, worlds apart easier to carry than a regular XM18, but it is a little easier to carry. And I just like the ergos. I like the little bit thinner handle, and I like the no choil. And this is a no choil slicer, which is probably like one of my favorite blades. My second favorite blade. They do no, I guess that I do still have a choil on that. I'm losing track. Yeah, this is my favorite no choil. I have a no choil Warney, but I don't like using that as much as this. This is just a slightly more useful blade shape, and it's I just love the skinny. This is when people say, which Hinderer should I buy first for my first Hinderer? Yeah, XM18 Skinny or a Jurassic when those are available again. One of those two. I wouldn't get one of the big bulky XM18s for your first one. I'd get, not that they're that bulky, but you know what I mean. I'd get the Skinny or get a Jurassic, which is as bulky as the XM18, but a little shorter. Yeah, get one of those two. We're getting down to the sharp end of the stick here. Next up, unsurprising, I know this was way up on the list last year. It might have even been #1 last year. I don't remember. This is the TRM Atom. Another knife that always looks different every time you see it, but I have pretty much settled on these Techwood scales. That's TRM's excellent party trick, is that you can swap scales around. So it's very easy. It takes literally 10 or 15 seconds, and I've gone a bit, things have gotten out of hand. I think I have 7 different sets of scales for it, and I've sold one, and I'm planning on buying another set. So yeah, it goes through a lot of different looks. I have a lot of cool scales for it, but I have settled on this Techwood. But the knife, forget the looks, it's just an outstanding knife. Very thin, very slicey, 20 CV, $230. And so not at all expensive for what it is, for USA made 20 CV, all this stuff. But yeah, they are, you're gonna have to keep an eye out. There's lists, there's drops, there's all kinds of stuff. They are a pain in the butt to get sometimes, but it's not that the company is doing it to make everybody mad. They're making them as fast as they can. It's just guys like Nick Shabazz and me rave about them, and you guys go buy them all, and then they're hard to get. It's worth raving about. It's just that good of a knife. I just really, really, really enjoy it. Now, I do have a Neutron 2 now, which is a 3-inch, and it has all the same changes as the Atom. As the original Neutron didn't have the nested liners, now it does. That might supplant it next year. I'm interested to see at the end of the year if I still carry the Atom more or the Neutron. We'll see. I'm sure one of the two is going to be on the list, but I don't know. I call it the Neutron, N-E-W, instead of the Neutron 2, because I'm clever. But no, I do love the Atom. It's great. Everyone who has one likes them. I don't know. I think I've seen like 2 guys on the internet who bought them and sold them because they didn't like them. And, not everybody has to be right all the time, so that's fine. I forgive them. And then, lastly, my most carried knife for 2020, drum roll, I think you can probably figure out by process of elimination if you watch a lot of my videos, it would be It's not one that I talk, I maybe not, because I don't put in a lot of videos anymore, because I've had it for so long. Spyderco Spidey Chef, yep, my most carried, and it wasn't that close, to be honest with you. This is just another knife that just, when I see it, I throw it in my pocket. Everybody has their routine, you know, for how they fill their pockets for the next day or whatever. I think a lot of guys do anyway. And I often do it the night before, and I sit here in my office watching videos or making videos or whatever, and have my knife cases behind me, and I turn around and thinking, oh, what am I going to grab tomorrow? And if I don't have like a plan and I see this, I just grab it. It's just one of those knives that if I see it, it goes in my pocket. $234. They're not inexpensive, but I don't think that's crazy. I really don't. LC 200N blade, titanium, just like the Quiet Carry earlier. It's completely corrosion resistant. It sat in the same salt bath that the Quiet Carry did, and neither of them show any damage. It does work in the kitchen as it advertises. I do use it that way a lot. It's not a perfect like chef's knife or anything like that, but it works fine for a folder, and sometimes I just want to show off and use my pocket knife in the kitchen. Not always necessarily the best idea of things to do, but I do it because it's fun and it's mine, so I can do that. It's getting a little scratched up. I kind of thought about getting it anodized, but because I have a couple different people who've offered, you know, they want me to review their services, and I need to send them knives, and like 2 times I've been so close to sending this one, and then thought, you know what, this is mine. It's mine. You know, I don't want to do that. It's just like, you know, it's got my scratches on it. I'm attached to this thing, even though it's one of many. This is the CQI version, the newer one. You can tell because the black screws, but I've still had it the entire full year. I'm sure I got this in 2019. I'm sure this wasn't a 2020 purchase. And I just love it. And this one's mine, and I don't want to change it, so probably not going to. But they have made some amazing versions of it with one Spyderco official one with a blue handle, which does look pretty awesome. And I've seen a lot of really cool ano jobs on them and stuff. But no, I think I'm going to keep this one as mine. I'm going to send. Well, I've already sent something off to one of them to get anodized, which will look really cool. But yep, this was my most carried. It's comfortable. It's lightweight. It's not so expensive that I worry about it too much. Yes, it is fairly dear. $234 ain't nothing to sneeze at, but it can be replaced. And that's one of the things I think about with knives I carry the most. Is why I don't own any customs, I think, because they can't be replaced. So this can be replaced. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope that it finds you well. And let me know what you've carried the most. I'm sure you guys don't all keep spreadsheets like me, because I'm a lunatic with a YouTube channel, but let me know down below in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.